Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town with PG Sittenfeld. We are talking all things election today. Less than 72 hours until it is election day itself, and then it is right around the corner. We're going to know who is going to be the next president of the United States, and I am delighted to now welcome to Talk of the Town, Mike McCurry, who served as White House press secretary for President Bill Clinton. He is also the current co-chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates, and in the interest of full disclosure, I have looked to Mike as one of my great mentors in my life. Mike McCurry, welcome to the show.
PG, great to be with you this morning.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. So we know you are calling from the general vicinity of the D.C. Beltway. So what's the conventional wisdom in D.C. about what the outcome is going to be this Tuesday?
The conventional wisdom is that it's going to be so close that nobody wants to go out on a limb and predict. There are some that still are saying that given the significant ground game that Obama has in some of the key battleground states, that he has a slight edge. And the Electoral College being what it is, he has been able to shore up enough support in those key states where you see a lot of the candidates right now, including obviously in Ohio, that he has a slight edge. But, everybody's hedging their bets right and left here because nobody wants to be wrong.
Well, so maybe the real question, Mike McCurry, is what time do you plan to go to bed on election night?
I'm going to go to bed early because I think it's going to be it could conceivably be a very, very long night.
So you'll
into the next day.
Set the alarm for 5 a.m. and get the results as they're wrapping up there.
Wake up and find out what happened.
Well, so as I mentioned, you served as Bill Clinton's White House press secretary. You're also the current co-chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates. And let me ask you, so this campaign has been 2 years, $2 billion in the making. I was telling Tamai, I feel like this campaign has become a member of my family because in some ways I've spent more time with the campaign than with members of my family. How much, as a person who helped was the architect for the 3 debates, how much should 3 90-minute debates matter when this has been, in so many ways so much bigger than that amount of time?
PG, I think it matters a lot. The New York Times has a story today about Ohio and about just how completely inundated citizens there are with all the advertisements and the back and forth. And several people are quoted saying, "Enough already! Please turn it off."
Sure.
But I think for that reason, these debates were very important because they are unscripted. They are genuine moments when the candidates are there and reveal more of themselves than what you see in their television commercials. And I think we had 3 very solid, very interesting debates that really sketched out some significant differences between these 2 candidates, both on philosophy and their approach on issues, and obviously some of the key economic issues that I think are driving the debate here. So,
well, I think nobody would dispute, including both of the candidates, that across the debates, and especially the first debate, had a major impact on the election itself as well.
Well, correct. I mean, I think the first debate, October 3rd, certainly put Romney in a place where he seemed to be much more credible, and people could actually envision him serving as president, and that gave his campaign, I think, a very big boost. But as we've gone into the final weeks here, it really is up to the incumbent to make the case. Look, we are moving in the right direction, and we don't want to change presidents now because we are headed in the right way. That's obviously the closeout message that President Obama is using, and Romney's obviously making the case, no, we need to make some changes. We can't have the same policies for 4 years. But I think all of those arguments were very well previewed in our 3 debates.
Sure.
And people know what they're voting for. And that at the end of the day, that's what you want debates to do, to really clarify what the nature of the choice is.
I think one thing I've heard a lot of people say they're curious about is what's the process for coming up with the questions that actually end up being asked. And we talked a little bit earlier in the show about Mayor Bloomberg's endorsement, and obviously one of the big things he cited was climate change, which I think somewhat conspicuously was not mentioned in a question or in an answer at all across 3 debates. So what is the process for what ends up getting asked in these debates?
Good question. We leave the editorial content of the debate has to be in the hands of the moderator. The moderator is a professional journalist, someone who, is a respected person. We picked 4 who have good records for being impartial and being pretty straight shooters. But at the end of the day, they have to ask the questions, and they decide. The commission doesn't affect the picking of the questions or anything like that. The reason for that, quite simply, is because it then is a bona fide news event. If it wasn't a news event, we would be subject to all kinds of legal restrictions on equal time and on other things that would make these debates less informative for the people. So the choice is up to the moderators, and you can certainly quibble with the choices. You mentioned
so take out our anger on Candy Crowley or Jim Lear or whoever if certain questions didn't get asked.
Right. I mean, I think there was a lot of substance that was left on the table. I personally do a lot of work with groups that try to help combat poverty and homelessness, and hunger, and there wasn't a single question about those who live at the margins of our society. That was a little disappointing to me. But it's 90 minutes, and it's also up, frankly, up to the candidates to work their content.
To answer or not answer. Right.
Correct.
Right. We are talking with Mike McCurry, who is the current chairman of the Commission on Presidential Debates, who's also the former White House press secretary for President Bill Clinton. And Mike, I'm in studio with my co-pilot Tamaya Denard, and you might have actually anticipated her next question, T.
Yeah, the moderators have been under an intense amount of scrutiny this debate season. So can you tell us a little bit about how you and the commission go about selecting the moderators for the debates?
Sure. We start about 2 years in advance and screen many hours of tapes of different people who are, have got, we think, the gravitas and the disposition to moderate these debates. I'll tell you, the thing that we look for most is someone who won't let their own ego get in the way. This is not about the moderator. It's not about, someone trying to advance their own career. We wanted people who would ask the questions that most Americans would have on their mind. And obviously in the case of Candy Crowley in the town hall debate, we wanted someone who would choose wisely from the citizens who were there to ask questions. Remember, in that debate, it's actually the people who get to ask the questions, but the moderator gets to decide who to call on. So she's the only one who knew what those questions would be from the citizens. But we wanted people who had good reputations, who were highly regarded among their peers. That was a very key factor. All four of those moderators are very highly respected within the circle of journalists that are their peer group.
So you sort of mentioned this balance between, I guess, personal gravitas, but not ego, so the debate isn't about them. And let me ask, is this a new phenomenon where it seems to me like the candidates, and this was, I would say, Romney, much, much more guilty, my own opinion, of just trying to bulldoze over the moderators. I like Jim Lear. Jim Lear is a thoughtful, civil guy, and I felt sorry for him in the first debate. Is this a new thing? And, how do we get that under control?
Well, I think you need a little firmer hand maybe than what Jim had in that first debate, because clearly when you've got two very aggressive, very dynamic candidates who are willing to go at it, like Obama and Romney did, then they can blow right through the timelines. Remember, we had sort of sketched out 6 different segments of 15 minutes each, and I think within the first half hour they'd blown through that format, and Jim had to try to get it back in the corral somehow or other. I think in the last debate, which had the same format, the one that Bob Schieffer moderated, it followed a little more of the pattern, the format that we had in mind. But look, no doubt, we got engaged, spirited conversation out of the candidates, and that's what we wanted.
There's no question about that. So let me ask you, so your former boss, Bill Clinton, when he first ran his presidential campaign in 1992, it was innovative and it was aggressive and it was a cutting-edge campaign. So much has changed between, then and 2008 when Obama got elected. Even so much has changed in 4 years. As you look out with your own sort of deep political wisdom, Mike McCurry, 10 years from now, any sense of, how the presidential campaign landscape will have changed, from where we are even today?
Well, I think two things have to change. One, we've got to restore some civility to the dialogue.
Right.
Particularly with the presence of these super PACs that really are accountable to nobody and claim to be unaffiliated to the campaign.
Well, it's a race to the bottom. It's not about solutions. It's about who can you make the citizens dislike more.
That's correct. I think we need the vocabulary and the tonal quality of our campaigns has to improve because we're not getting what we deserve as citizens. And then I think the second thing is that we've really got to insist on a little more substantive dialogue about what choices we're making for the future. I think both Romney and Obama have been able to skirt around a lot of specifics on what they would actually precisely do on the deficit or on education, energy, a whole range of issues. And I think it's up to we, the people, to insist on a little more clarity.
Well, I was going to say, I often say that, at the end of the day, I really do think, it's a beautiful system we have in place, even when it's messy and ugly. And in some ways, we get the government we deserve. So to the point you just made, isn't the onus on us to say, if someone comes and it's all about attacking the other guy and skirting solutions, the rebuttal from citizens seems to be, we're not going to elect you.
I think that's right. But, PG,
can we achieve that culture change?
Well, there's culture change, but more importantly, a generational change. When I talk to younger voters who are like in the 18 to 25 bracket, they are much more pragmatic, a lot less ideological, a lot less kind of frozen in their partisan views. And I think they are going to affect the change that we want to see happen, because they're just going to not take this anymore from candidates who look a little too polarized or a little too wedded to certain kind of dogmas. So I think that is the change that will happen. And, frankly, it's a lot of people my age, baby boomers and older, retiring from the scene that will get us the kind of politics that we need.
Right. So this final question might be a little bit of a sin, Mike McCurry, since we're not even to Election Day 2012, but 2016 is going to feel right around the corner. And for those of us that do like keeping track of all the politics, any especially big names or dark horses on both sides, do you think it's all about this person in 2016?
Boy, it's that fair question, PG. We're not even done with this campaign, and you're trying to look 4 years ahead.
We're just throwing it out there.
Look, we have the one thing I will say is obviously everyone will focus on Hillary Clinton and what her
it's all about Hillary.
Right. And knowing her, I'm confident in saying she has not a clue whether she would actually want to do that or not. She's going to need to sift things through and let things settle after she completes her service as Secretary of State. But I think until she makes a decision, she would be
freeze the field.
She would clean the field out if she ran. So I think if she does not run, then we've got a lot of new faces in the party. And part of what I'm saying is that there's a new generation coming along, and names that we don't know as well today will probably be much more prominent 4 years from now.
Right. Well, Mike McCurry, it was a pleasure. Hope to do it again. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
That's great. Keep up your good work there.
I appreciate it. That was former White House press secretary for Bill Clinton and the current chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates, Mike McCurry. Stay tuned. Final segment coming up. Talk of the Town on 1230. The Buzz.